It's episode 650 of the Locked On Rangers podcast. On today's show, I'm talking about the Rangers splitting a series with the White Sox, Kumar Rocker and Brock Porter being introduced, and what the Rangers should have done with their first round draft pick. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, founder and host for all 4 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Monday, August 8th. Your Rangers are 48-60. Thank y'all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers and subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment any single thing below. Before we get into all this good stuff today, this episode is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can buy a car entirely online and have it delivered straight to you, so you never have to go to a dealership again. So next time you need to buy a car, just grab your phone and go to vroom.com and check out thousands of great cars. Now, the Rangers had a chance to win this weekend series against the White Sox, a team that is on the rise, that has a very, very good roster, is getting healthy, has had some really bad injury luck, but has been a really, really darn good team. And the Rangers starting pitching was the story of this weekend. Whether good or bad, in 3 cases it was good, in 1 case it was very not good, and that was the game. The Rangers had absolutely no chance in this one, but the Rangers did a great job of holding this really, really strong White Sox lineup in check for the vast majority of these games. Glenn Otto went on Friday. We already talked about on Friday's episode the Major League debuts of Bubba Thompson and Cole Reagans. Go check out that episode. Was really, really happy for both of those guys, and it just did wonders for my baseball soul, seeing both those kids get called up and thrive like they did. But Glenn Otto got charged with the loss in this one. He went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, both earned, 1 walk, and 7 strikeouts in this one. He was just absolutely electric in this one. This is one of his better starts of the season. Was able to go deep into the game. Josh Sborz came in, got a couple of innings in relief where he did not allow a single run and struck out 3. Jose Leclerc comes in, works a perfect 9th inning, striking out a pair. But it wasn't enough. The Rangers offense just could not get to the starting pitcher Dylan Cease in this one. And, the Rangers shouldn't feel too bad on this. They really shouldn't, because Dylan Cease is one of the best pitchers in the American League this year. He has been absolutely on a tear lately, just ridiculously good the last few starts. The mustache power is real. Him, Nasty Nestor Cortez, and several other guys I can't think of off the top of my head right now that have mustaches that are absolutely dominating with him. But this guy has got an elite mustache. I know the Rangers saw him in spring training this year, and he looked just nasty this year yet again. Last year he was pretty solid. He started coming into his own. 3.91 ERA last year. This year a 1.98 ERA in 22 starts, 122 innings, and 166 strikeouts this year. Yeah, Dylan Cease has been absolutely phenomenal. And then they come in the bullpen with Joe Kelly, Kendall Graveman, Liam Hendricks. There is not much you're going to do. I know it's another 1-run loss for this Rangers club, but there just wasn't a whole lot to be done in this one. Bubba Thompson got his 2nd hit of his Major League career and stole his first 2 bases, second base again when he got on later against Joe Kelly. But this was another outing of showing what he can do, how ridiculously fast it is. The Rangers only had 3 hits in this one. One of them was by Bubba Thompson, which I think is pretty darn cool. Adolis Garcia had a single. Corey Seager had a single. Other than that, not a whole lot going. 4 walks for the Rangers in this one. Jonah Heim reached twice on a walk, but the pinch runner, Charlie Culberson, was not able to score for him. But the Rangers just could not do very much in this one offensively. And you know what? Sometimes it happens. But I really want to talk about how valuable Glenn Otto has been. And it does not change my opinion that I do think eventually he's a reliever, because I just think that's his profile. But for the last few starts and for this season, the Rangers have needed him to be in that number 5 role in their rotation, sometimes moving up to the 4 because injuries or other guys didn't quite work out. But he has done what you want in a season like this with the rotation as lacking of depth as this one has. He has answered the call in a big way. He has gone 5 or more innings in 11 of his 16 starts this season and allowed 2 or fewer earned runs in earned runs in 9 of those 16 starts. He's still probably a reliever. He's still got a really nasty breaking ball and a fastball that I think will play up really well in the bullpen. But the Rangers have needed him to do this year, and he has stepped up time and time again when the Rangers have called his name. When he's been healthy, he has been a necessary part of this rotation. It doesn't mean he hasn't had his problems. It doesn't mean that he isn't going to occasionally have a big blow-up start and kind of cost your team, get your team out of it before they can really do too much. He's only had a couple of those this year where he went less than 3 innings. Actually, literally only one of those this year. He had the 2-inning outing against Washington that was just very shocking for a team that was as terrible as they were, where he went 2 innings, allowed 6 hits, 3 walks, and 6 runs, all of which were earned. But still, for the most part, he has answered the call and keeping his team in games when he is on the mound, and that is a valuable thing. We saw that with Jordan Lyles. He hasn't quite done it to the Jordan Lylesian level of pretty much going 6 innings every time, or 7 innings, or occasionally pulling a random 8 inning of 1-run ball against the Red Sox on the road in the middle of a pennant chase out of his butt. But he hasn't gone to Fenway yet this season, so maybe he will. But he has been a very valuable pitcher for this Rangers club, and even though the Rangers lost another 1-run game and have an absolutely abysmal record in 1-run games this year, that one is one that you can brush off a little bit easier. But the next game, Saturday night, was a huge outing for Dane Dunning. The Rangers absolutely trounced the White Sox 8-0 and felt like, okay, all right, the Rangers finally have a chance to take this series home. Just a great offensive day, 6 walks, 7 hits, for the Rangers that turned into 8 runs. A 5 RBI day for Adolis Garcia, who was just on fire, absolutely on fire, had a 2-run single that got the scoring started off, then had a 3-run double, his 21st of the season. The Rangers were able to completely shut down this White Sox offense thanks to Dane Dunning's 7 innings of shutout work and Taylor Hearn looking really exceptionally nasty in a 2-inning bullpen left-handed reliever role, which kind of gives me another question about Matt Moore and saying, do you really need 3 guys that can give you multiple innings and be absolutely disgusting in relief? I'm not sure they do, but we're going to get into a little bit more of this Dane Dunning start, how well he has done in his last few starts since coming off the IL, and a little bit of a look at what the Rangers have done and should have done with Kumar Rocker. But first, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. As you gear up for the fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find those people you want to talk to faster and for free. You can create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond to the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Then add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring so your network can help find the right people to hire. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonmlb. That's linkedin.com/lockedonmlb to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Now, Dane Dunning had that injury and missed time right around the All-Star break, came back, and since he has come back, he has been fairly effective in those games for the Rangers. In 3 starts since then, he went 5 innings of 2-run ball against the white-hot Seattle Mariners in Seattle, which was really darn impressive. He went 6 innings of 2-run ball with 4 strikeouts at Anaheim, and that was also very impressive. But this might be the best start of his major league career. 7 shutout innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. This was absolutely dominating stuff for Dane Dunning, and he really needed a big outing like this. He's had a couple of other really good outings this year. One that comes to mind was the 7 innings of 2-run ball against Seattle at home back on June 30. He had 7 strikeouts there. He also went 7 2/3 innings. I think that's the longest he's ever gone in a major league start versus Atlanta on April 30th. Kind of helped turned that Rangers club around. 4 hits, no walks, 1 run, which was earned, and 7 strikeouts against the defending champion Braves. That was an incredible start for him. He's had some pretty darn good starts. He's been able to go consistently fairly deep into games, and he has looked much, much better with whatever mechanical tweak they made. There was some tweak that was made. I am not a pitching analyst. I'm not pitching ninja, so I don't know exactly what it was that they changed, but whatever they changed, it's been working, and he's been fairly effective because he is not a guarantee in the Rangers rotation for years to come. He's definitely going to be in there next year, I'm pretty darn sure, because I'm not entirely sure that Kumar Rocker or Jack Leiter are going to be busting down the door to Arlington next season as much as Rangers fans want them to be. I'll talk a little bit more about Rocker and Leiter later on in the show, but I did get to go see Jack Leiter's Frisco start, and there were some interesting things that I saw in Frisco and another Frisco debut that I want to talk about. But this was just a fantastic outing from Dane Dunning, who is going to be competing with a lot of different guys for a role in that Rangers rotation. They've got for now, they've got John Gray, and hopefully if they re-sign Martin Perez, which they absolutely should and should do by the end of the season, they really should be getting on that right about now. But he's going to be the number 3 in this rotation coming in. The Rangers need to add a starting pitcher, at least one, during the offseason, whether that's via trade or they go and sign somebody. There's not a whole lot of super enticing free agent options, but Dane Dunning is going to have to compete his butt off for the final however many starts he's got left in the season, whether it's like 6 starts or so. He is going to have to prove himself because there are guys coming down the pipe with premium high-end stuff that he just does not have. He has a lot of great pitchability, but he's had some walk concerns this year, and when you're a guy with the raw stuff that he has, which is not super impressive but is effective when he uses it well, you cannot be walking as many guys as he has this year. He knows that. He is a ground ball pitch to contact guy, and if you are not controlling the strike zone, throwing your pitches exactly where you want, you can get lit up pretty quickly. And the Rangers have guys like Jack Leiter, Kumar Rocker, Owen White, eventually Cole Winn if they can figure out what the heck's wrong with him, and now Cole Reagan's already in the starting rotation. Like, there are some guys that could very easily knock him out, and he does not have the stuff that I think will play up very well in the bullpen. So if he wants to keep a spot on a major league roster, he is going to have to figure out to be that good pitchability kind of guy, because the Rangers have some guys that are gunning for his job, and he knows it. And if he pitches like this, then he has definitely secured a job in the Rangers rotation for several years to come. Now, let's look a little bit at this final game of the series. The Rangers were blown out of the water in this one, did not have much of a chance, with Spencer Howard getting lit up yet again, coming off of a rough outing and a good start, a great start before that, where he went 5 shutout innings on his birthday. It just does not seem like the Spencer Howard starting pitcher experiment is going to last that much longer. He went 3 1/3 innings in this one, allowed 8 hits, only 1 walk, which is, improvement, but did allow a home run. 6 runs, 5 of those were earned, and it just was not a great outing for him. They had to bring in Brett Martin in relief, who was able to get through an inning in 2/3 and give the Rangers some length. Garrett Richards got a couple of innings and did allow 2 runs. Only one of those was earned because of the Rangers having some errors in this one. Corey Seager had his 12th fielding error of the season. Ezekiel Duran had his 6th error of the season on a throw. Brock Burke was able to come in and get a shutout inning of work. Matt Moore did the same, a perfect inning for Matt Moore, but it just wasn't enough. The Rangers offense was not doing anything against Lucas Giolito, who has been pretty rough this season. He's had some good outings. He has some really good stuff, and he was fantastic last year, but this year it's been real hit or miss with him, and when he's on, he is really freaking nasty, and he was very much on in this one. And the pen was able to come in and mostly shut the door down. Jake Diekman came on to go pitch against his former team. He is now moved from Boston to the White Sox at the trade deadline, in case you missed that. But Nathaniel Lowe got to that guy and got to him real good for a 452-foot home run, his longest of the season. Just the day before, Chris Woodward challenged him to prove that he is a cornerstone of this franchise, a piece that is going to be integral moving into the future And so far offensively, he's been one of the Rangers' best hitters. He called him the Rangers' hottest hitter, their best hitter at the moment. And for the season, he has been doing very, very well offensively. A 797 OPS, 16 homers, 18 doubles, 2 triples, an on base of 333, which was a little bit higher. But his OPS is 27% above league average for first baseman. Now, I just really need to move him to DH so that I can keep praising him and not feel compelled to mention how bad his defense has been. But Josh Young has been playing a little bit of first base. Maybe he is going to knock him off. By the way, Josh Young has homers in back-to-back games, at least on Saturday and Friday and Saturday. I don't know if he did on Sunday because I didn't check the box score for what he's been doing there. But he is playing the field, and I am really, really looking forward to seeing Josh Young get his cup of coffee. I had heard some rumors that because he has worked his butt off on his rehab this year and also last year, that he is going to be rewarded with a Major League cup of coffee, get to make his debut by the end of the season, assuming that he is healthy and ready to go, which I think he very much will be. He has earned it. He probably should have been in Arlington last year. I really do think so. And if it wasn't for his foot injury at the beginning of the season, he definitely would have been, at least by the end of the year. Third base has been pretty much open. I mean, I know Josh Smith has been doing a decent job there. Ezekiel Duran has been doing a decent job there as well whenever he has been playing third base. But it is time for Josh Young, once he gets that healthy, his shoulder healthy, then it is going to be Josh Young time in Arlington, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Coming up, I'm going to look at what the Rangers are doing with Kumar Rocker, what they should have done, and a little bit about my visit to Frisco, what I learned from all of that. But first, this episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news for every single league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports wagering information. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have got you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Now, let's look a little bit at what the Rangers are doing with Kumar Rocker. Kumar Rocker has not pitched a whole lot this season. He did not pitch a whole lot in 2020 because, obviously, pandemic. Nobody pitched a whole lot in games then. But he did pitch in 2019 and 2021, a decent amount there. But he has not gotten a lot of work in so far this season. He has 20 innings in 5 starts with Tri-City in the Frontier League of Independent Ball. But the Rangers are not going to pitch him in affiliated ball for the rest of the season. They are moving him to Arizona to go get some biomechanics work, go into the Rangers biomechanics lab, have him assessed, see how he's throwing, what that's doing to his shoulder, just all kinds of different stuff, which is what the Rangers are doing for all of the pitchers that they drafted. Actually, all the players that they drafted are going to Arizona into the complex to go get checked out and learned up and all that good stuff. They are learning their lessons from the deload program. They're going to still have them throwing on the side, so at least they're going to be doing that. But for me, I don't think that's the right move for Kumar Rocker. He is 22 years old. Actually, I think he's turned 23 at this point. No, he's turning 23 in November on the 22nd. But the guy needs to get some work in actual games. I agree with going and sending them all to Arizona. That's where you want to start them. You want to just go send your lab techs, whatever, pitch mechanics, whatever kind of drive line-esque type of stuff that you've got to go assess these guys, go learn them up and study every single bit of them. But also, this guy needs to pitch more this year. I know he pitched 122 innings last year, but he is your stereotypical horse type of guy, 6'5", 245. This is the guy who has the body to theoretically hold up as a long-term starting pitcher, going out there like Lance Lynn, giving you 6 innings every time out, not having to take a whole lot of time off. I know the shoulder injury is a little bit scary, and it kind of pisses me off that they're still not saying exactly what it was, even though there's literally no reason to cover it up, and Scott Boras and company are going to keep at it until it goes away or people stop talking about it, and I'm not going to shut up until I find out what it is. And I am a little concerned about it, but even if you're throwing him in these shorter outings, like you go out there and he throws like 2 innings per start and you're starting him in, I don't know, I'd say low A. I'd say go the complex league, throw him in a start or two there, see how he feels, then bump him up to either low A or high A, probably low A, keep him there, and just throw him every fifth or sixth day or once a week or whatever until the end of the season. You'll still get a few starts in him, and he needs to have those competitive juices flowing. He is going to pitch in the complex, the fall league, the instructional league, which is just intra-squad games, which is just Rangers against Rangers, which is fine, and you can learn a little bit from it there, but it's not the same as facing these guys in a game, somebody wearing a different uniform, see these guys in the other uniforms and learn to get pissed at them and to hate them, which is nice in spring training once there's games against the other teams, farm teams, that it just makes a difference as opposed to, oh, I'm just pitching against this guy who's on my team and who's going to be in my organization for a while and maybe be my major league teammate. Like there's not the same level of intensity of like, oh, look, there's a guy in Angels gear. I want to hate that. I want you to learn to hate those guys wearing that Angels A, wearing the Seattle, wearing any other thing besides Texas. I want you to learn how to pitch against those guys, and it's just different competitive juices that are flowing in there. I get why they're being cautious with these guys. I think doing what they're doing with Brock Porter is probably the right move. They're trying to build him back up. He did throw quite a few innings, went all the way to the state title game, I believe, and won it. Not exactly sure. He is a little older for a high school kid. He has turned 19, but I do want them to be very cautious and methodical about how they approach what Brock Porter is doing, which should be a little bit different about how they're approaching Kumar Rocker, because he is a little bit older and he is a lot more advanced because he did go to college and dominated there for every season that he was in college at one of the best college programs, and was just absolutely amazing as a freshman and briefly as a sophomore before COVID, and then absolutely dominant as a junior. So I don't know. I get that they're smarter than I am and they have a lot more information to go on than I do, but it's still, I just would really like to see him in affiliated ball. That's really what I want very badly. But who I did see in affiliated ball is Jack Leiter, and it was not a great outing for him. The numbers are a little deceptive. He had some great moments. I will give him that. He went 5 innings, allowed 4 hits, walked 3, all of which came in the same inning. And this was all after giving up a home run on the very first pitch of the game. I was really impressed with him to be able to settle down after that, because he's got a little bit, from talking to people who've seen him a little bit more than I have in person, he's got a little bit of the Martin Perez disease of letting first round, not now. There's no Martin Perez disease this year, but earlier in his career with the Rangers, whenever things would get away from him, whenever he'd make a great pitch and the defense just wouldn't make a play, or he'd make a great pitch and he just wouldn't get the call, things could tend to spiral out of control. And that's a little bit what happened in this one. Only 2 runs scored in that 5th inning, but I wasn't sure that he was going to make it out of it. All of it came on a 2-out rally where he just was not quite himself, allowed some pitches to get away, allowed a run to score on a wild pitch, and that just kind of demoralized him there. And it was just not exactly what you wanted to see. He's still struggling with missing glove side with his fastball. He's not able to command and throw for strikes, both the breaking balls. Feels a little bit more confident in the slider than the curveball at this point. I don't think we saw very many changeups, not that many cutters. He's still pretty much using those 3 pitches, which again, if those are the only 3 pitches he throws, those are still all potentially plus pitches in the big leagues. So if you're a 3-pitch guy and all of them are double plus, you don't really need a 4th or 5th pitch. Just kind of a show me thing, just to feel a little bit comfortable with him. I don't think he feels comfortable with the changeup or the cutter at this point, but I think he'll get there, and both of them will be, at least serviceable to throw 3% of the time, which is what he'll maybe throw them, if that. But still, he's got some room to grow. And you know what? I'm not concerned about him just yet. This is the first time since he was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or whatever, that he hasn't absolutely annihilated every single batter that he's faced. This is the first time he's really facing adversity, and it's tough. It's tough to learn, and I think they probably should have started him in high A, but, it's easy to say that in hindsight, and you have Jack Leiter. You're probably just going to have to start him in double A because he's Jack freaking Leiter, and he's just not quite as polished and ready to just jump up to the major leagues as we thought coming out of the draft. And you know what? That's okay. And I do think he's probably going to be in Frisco next year, and that's okay too. he might get some time with Kumar Rocker pitching right beside him in Double-A. I do think they should start Kumar in High-A. If he dominates, then let him jump up to Double-A. But I think those guys being in the same rotation, I know it's just kind of anecdotal, but they really do seem like genuinely very good friends and are like very super excited to be pitching together, hopefully in the same big league rotation, and I think hopefully in the same minor league rotation. That in a lot of the pieces that I've been reading about both of these guys in their college coach talked about how they both pushed each other to be better without being competitive with each other. Just like, oh, it was all about the success of the team. It's like, oh, you did really well, so I want to go and do this for my team. You went out there and went 7 innings and allowed just 1 run and struck out 10. Well, I want to go 8 innings and allow no runs and strike out 12 or whatever. It was just that kind of a thing, and they wanted to do that for each other. And I do think them being together could have some kind of ancillary benefits. But again, Jack Leiter's not going to be pushing up to Arlington out of camp unless he, throws a perfect game in his last 5 starts or whatever in the minor leagues and absolutely shoves at camp. Like, it's just not very likely. It's still possible he could make it his major league debut next year, but I do think he's not going to jump straight up from Double-A to the big leagues, and I think he's most definitely going to start next year at Double-A. But there are a couple other guys that I got to see for the first time, including the Rangers' second-round pick last year, Aaron Zavala, who Grant saw in fall camp last year and just did not love what he saw. And Grant was there last night with me, and both of us were there with Michael Teppet of Lone Star Ball, and we saw some loud freaking contact. The guy is very, very balanced at the plate. I do think he's extremely polished, and I'm surprised it took him this long to get there, but the guy has been annihilating baseballs in 7 games in Frisco so far this year. He's got a 1408 OPS. That's really darn good. A pair of homers, 5 doubles, 6 walks to 5 strikeouts, on base of 533, slugging 875. The guy just looks the part. He was facing a crafty lefty on the mound that night, and the lefty just absolutely dotted the corner with a slider that just finished right there on the low outside corner against him in his first at bat. He struck out, and then the next few times that he got up to bat, he just smacked the crap out of the baseball. He hits that ball hard. Ezekiel Duran hits the baseball hard. That's what makes both these guys very, very valuable offensively. And if you're not hitting the ball, you're not stinging the absolute crap out of the baseball, then big league fielders are going to catch it. Even if it's a little bit out of their range, they're going to make the play on it. But if you're hitting the absolute snot out of the baseball, it makes it very, very hard for even the best defender to go and get those balls. He just absolutely crushing it right now. He is just never gets off balance. Everything he feels like he's prepared for, and he hits piss out of the baseball. I think he might be the Rangers left fielder every day starting next season. Like, he might end up winning that job. I thought it was going to be one of Ezekiel Duran or Josh Smith, or heck, they might put Josh Young out there, or maybe even Dustin Harris. Harris, I think, still has a little bit of a ways to go. I'm starting to see a little bit more why he is in Double-A still at this point, even though he made the Futures game. He's had a pretty solid season so far. There's still a little bit more offensively to be gained there. I still think he could use a lot more work in left field. He is very beautifully athletic, not as functionally athletic. Like, straight line speed is very good, but the actual baseball athleticism is still a little bit lacking. He's still learning how to play left field. Like, this is one of the first times, I think, in professional ball that he has played in the outfield. So, again, it's going to be a learning experience. He's still got some things to iron out offensively, but I came away super impressed with Aaron Zavala. I was also very impressed with Luis Angel Acuna. I only saw him at second base. Wish I could have seen him at shortstop. The arm's not... It'll play it at short, but the hands are really, really nice. The approach at the plate was very, very advanced, and he too hit the crap out of the baseball. The time that he put it in play, he hit it very, very hard. I saw Justin Foscue at third base. I don't know why they're doing that other than to up his trade value. He's, I think, of the guys in the Rangers' top 10, or at least that were in my midseason top 10, he is the most likely to get moved, in my opinion. He is not really a second baseman. I don't really think he is a third baseman, and he is hitting the ball really, really hard right now, but if he can sustain that, then he could be a major league regular. If not, then I don't really see that much of a role for him, because he's got a nice advanced approach, but the defense is super, super limited. The arm's not great. He is definitely not a third baseman. He might end up being a passable second baseman, but he's probably a left field / DH / first base type. And unless he absolutely mashes and continues this, we've seen what kind of ridiculous streaks he can be on. And he's finally showing the power at AA, which he hadn't before. That's encouraging. But I still think that the Rangers probably move him, because I think the outside opinion might be a little higher than those who at least are, Rangers prospect writers who are here seeing him a lot. And what I would assume how the Rangers feel about him. But one guy that I would like to see is Owen White. I would like to see him by the end of the year. He is on the IL right now with forearm soreness, but I think it's just kind of a routine, give his arm a little bit of a break check. He's only thrown 144 professional innings. All of those came in the last 2 seasons, so I really do think that he'll be fine. He'll be back out there eventually. He wasn't in the dugout that I could see when I was there on Friday night, but I'm going to try and go again this week and see if I can spot him there, or just hear a little bit more info on what the heck's going on with Owen White, because I would very, very much like to see him in person. Almost all of his first starts with Frisco were on the road. But one last Frisco note, the Rangers' main return in the Matt Bush trade, Antoine Kelly, made his AA debut for Frisco on Sunday and looked fairly solid. 3 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, which was earned, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. That's the kind of stuff that the Rangers are looking for. And for a season that the pitching prospects have not really panned out like the Rangers have hoped, nobody's really taken that big next step outside of Owen White and Cole Reagans, which, again, that's great for them, but there are still a lot more pitching prospects that could have been taking that next step. Antoine Kelly has come in and started in AA. Also a really, really nice night from Avery Weems. 4 innings of relief outing from him where he struck out 6, did end up getting charged with the loss, but 4 hits, 1 run, which is earned, and no walks in 4 innings for Avery Weems. That's very encouraging. That's some very, very encouraging stuff. I also think that he is going to be a reliever in the big leagues, going to be able to run that fastball up into the upper 90s with a just disgusting slider, and I think that's probably going to end up being where he ends up long term. But this was a nice outing for him, a nice outing for Antoine Kelly for his first in AA. Very excited to get to see him in person at some point. But that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. The Rangers have a series in Houston, 3 in the middle of this week. They're having an off day for the first time in what feels like forever. I think it's the first time since the All-Star break ended. So go enjoy your off day of the Rangers. Go watch somebody else. Maybe go watch some Padres, see some Juan Soto, because that's going to do it for this edition of Locked On Rangers. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.